What grade are you in? Are you in fourth grade or fifth grade, or you just finished third, or what?
I just finished fourth.
Just finished fourth. Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about what you usually write in school.
We usually write about like when it's Mother's Day, so like
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff, or what we're grateful for Thanksgiving,
Okay.
snowman stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Did you ever read any I'm sure you've read like shorter stories in school, or maybe have you ever heard of a poem? Did you guys ever do that? Yeah, sometimes. Get cozy. That's awesome. So maybe last week we kind of talked about how important words are when you're writing, and how there's like a lot of new and sometimes surprising ways to use words in writing. This week I was kind of thinking we would try to practice some, but if you're interested, is there anything like that you would like to do, or like would you like to write a story? Would you like to write a poem? Do you have any ideas, or you're just kind of like up for whatever?
I'm okay with anything.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's start by when I say something is a description. Do you know what that word means?
Nope.
No? So if I said like, describe your friend to me, what would you do?
Um, tell them what my friend is like.
Yeah, what they're like, maybe what they like to do, or what they look like, right? Or maybe you would describe like their favorite food, or what are some other things that would tell me like what that person is like to you?
Um, their hair color,
Cool, yeah,
what their hobbies.
that's great. Yeah, I'm writing them down as we're talking so I can keep track. Hobbies, maybe where they live. Like, do they live near you, far away, that kind of thing? Where they're from.
Um, how old are they?
Yeah, that's a good one. So kind of like a lot of different things that either you know about them because you're friends, or maybe that you can see with your eyes, or that you can, if they're like tall or short, something like that. So their physical characteristics. In writing, the way that you or I describe something is like actually how the person reading it knows what we're talking about, right? So like if I told you a story and I was like, a dog ran to a house and got a drink of water, that would be pretty boring, right? Like that's pretty snooze. But if I was like, a leopard printed hot pink chihuahua with tiny rubber boots on, ran out into the pouring rain in the middle of New York City. Oh, and by the way, its name was like Eugene. And it ran into my apartment, and it demanded that I give it espresso instead of water, or I give it like watermelon juice, or Mountain Dew. Like that would be a lot. I mean, it's kind of weird, but it would kind of be a lot more interesting than just saying the dog went into the house and got a drink, right? It would be kind of crazy. But like all those words that I just used about what color the dog's fur was, about how small it was, all those things are kind of called description. Oop, I'm gonna add, I think Miss Linda might be in the waiting room. Let's see if she comes on. Give her a second. Hello.
Hi,
Hey, Miss Linda.
how are you?
We're good. How are you?
Okay. Hi, Ellie.
Hi.
How are you, sweetie?
Good.
That's good. Okay, carry on. I'm just being nosy.
Okay, cool. So Ellie and I were just talking about description and how when you write or tell a story, you kind of have to fill in some of the details about what you're talking about so that your reader knows, not only knows what's going on, but is kind of interested in it. And I kind of gave a crazy example about how if I said, a dog went into the house and got water, everybody would be pretty bored. But if I told them that a leopard printed hot pink chihuahua came into my apartment and demanded soda, that would make for a much more interesting story. So we're working on how description is things that we can see, taste, smell, characteristics that we might know about a person. Ellie gave me some great ideas about if she was describing a friend, all the different things that she might tell me about them so that I understood who they were.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. I'm going to share, let's see, I'm going to share a reading from a book that is a really beautiful example of description. I'm trying to figure out how to do the share screen. Let's see.
Well, you carry on. I'm just visiting.
Okay, cool.
You and Ellie, have fun.
She's super.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Miss Linda. Okay, Ellie, so if you're still there, I'm going to see if I can show you. Why isn't this working? What's on my desktop? So can you see like a bunch of words now? Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so I thought this is from a book called To Kill a Mockingbird. Have you ever heard of that book or like the movie? No? You might read it when you're a little bit older in school, or you might not, but it's a really beautiful story about a brother and a sister who live in a small town, and they're going on a lot of adventures, and they also kind of find themselves in the middle of a story where someone is being treated really wrongly, and their dad actually has to work to kind of rectify or fix the situation, and advocate for that person, which means to like help them find justice and to be safe. That's like kind of a backdrop of the big story, but in the middle of like big stories, like for instance, what's your favorite movie? Just this little sidetrack.
Airplane Mode on Netflix.
Airplane Mode? I'll have to watch that because I don't know anything about it. But what would be like if you were telling me like the overview or kind of the big picture of that movie, what would you say?
It's about a girl who won't stop playing on her phone, so she got in a car accident.
Oh my.
And she was on her phone
Uh-huh.
because she wasn't paying attention.
Okay. So
So she had to go to her grandparents' house. But her grandparent was like really weirdly to her, like all this stuff. And then she like really liked to sew. She saw her hobbies. Didn't really use social media a lot.
uh-huh.
So that's kind of the story.
That's great job. You told me a perfect synopsis. A synopsis is a big word for like overview or the main point of the story. What is like in that movie? Is there like a really specific moment that when you think of that movie, like that's the point? I have an idea of what it might be, but what, like what's one of your favorite moments or favorite scenes in there? Like, does she do something funny or yeah, something like that.
When she threw her phone off out of the window of her car because she was so mad
Oh,
at her parents.
that is pretty crazy and pretty memorable. But see how you just told me like a bunch, you just described like this mini moment out of this whole big movie. And now I have like, I kind of understand like what that girl's personality might be like, or, like what her age might be, because she's, so all that to say, I understand a bunch of different things from what you described to me. In this story that I'm going to read to you a little portion of, this like moment is one of my favorite points, favorite scenes, because so Scout and Jem are the name of the two characters in the movie or the book, and they kind of have they have this really weird kind of scary neighbor that they have been avoiding kind of the whole book. His name's Boo Radley, and they kind of say some mean things about him, and all the kids in the neighborhood make fun of him, but Boo has been leaving Scout and Jem these little gifts in their favorite tree. And this is the moment in the story where they kind of figure out who has been leaving them the gifts. So I'll read it to you, just relax, and try to keep an ear out for what are the descriptions. That's what we'll call them for today. So, oh, and by the way, this is by a really cool woman. Her name is Harper Lee, and this is the only book she ever wrote in her entire life, and she's super famous for it, which is crazy. She didn't write anything else. There are no clearly defined seasons in South Alabama. Summer drifts into autumn, and autumn is sometimes never followed by winter, but turns to a day-old spring that melts into summer again. That fall was a long one, hardly cool enough for a light jacket. Jem and I were trotting in our orbit one mild October afternoon when our knothole stopped us again. Something white was inside this time. Jem let me do the honors. I pulled out 2 small images carved in soap. One was the figure of a boy, the other wore a crude dress. Before I remembered that there was no such thing as hoodooing, I shrieked and threw them down. Jem snatched them up. "What's the matter with you?" he yelled. He rubbed the figures free of red dust. "These are good," he said. "I've never seen any of these good." He held them down to me. They were almost perfect miniatures of 2 children. The boy had on shorts, and a shock of soapy hair fell to his eyebrows. I looked up at Jem. A point of straight brown hair kicked downwards from his part. I had never noticed it before. Jem looked from the girl doll to me. The girl doll wore bangs. So did I. "These are us," he said. "Who did 'em, you reckon?" "Who do we know around here who whittles?" he asked. "Mr. Avery. Mr. Avery just does like this. I mean, carves." And I'll skip a bit. Jem stared at me so long, I asked what was the matter, but got nothing. Scout for an answer. When we went home, Jem put the dolls in his trunk. Less than 2 weeks later, we found a whole package of chewing gum, which we enjoyed. The fact that everything on the Radley place was poison having slipped Jem's memory. The following week, the knothole yielded a tarnished medal. Jem showed it to Atticus, who said it was a spelling medal, and that before we were born, the Macomb County schools had spelling contests and awarded medals to the winners. Atticus said someone must have lost it. Had we asked around? Jem kicked me when I tried to say where we had found it. Jem asked Atticus if he remembered anybody who ever won, and Atticus said no. Our biggest prize appeared 4 days later. It was a pocket watch that wouldn't run, on a chain with a small aluminum knife. "You reckon it's white gold?" said Jem. "Don't know. I'll show it to Atticus." Atticus is their dad in the story, so that's kind of so it's kind of like a weird thing to read out of nowhere, right? But did you notice, is there anything about what I read that kind of stood out to you when I was talking about, could you kind of picture anything in your mind? Like what? Or if you need a minute, that's okay too.
There's a little boy
Uh-huh.
and he must really like those birds.
And he kind of found, did you catch like what they found inside of the tree? Kind of a weird thing. It says they found 2 little pictures carved out of like bars of soap. Have you ever like, I don't know if you've ever like dropped a bar of soap or whatever in the shower, but it kind of like can break easily or be carved into easily. So someone made like these 2 little portraits of them and hid them inside of the tree, which is pretty weird. But part of how they're described, like when they hit the ground, they got covered in red dust. What do you think that red dust is?
I think that's a bunch of fire ants.
Fire ants, yeah, amazing. I love that description. That might have even been more exciting than what Harper Lee wrote in there. They got covered in fire ants. I wonder also if you noticed, so they say like the next week they went back to the tree and they got in it and they found like this gold medal and they used the word tarnished. Do you know what that means? Have you ever heard that before? It means it's kind of like dirty and it was covered in soot. So like if you had an old trophy or something and you left it outside for like months, it would get kind of tarnished looking. I just point that out because it's a really good descriptive word. Okay, I'm gonna leave the screen share if I can.
I just got a big trophy. It's like bigger than me and my mom.
Wow, what for?
I just found it at my dance studio.
That's so
They were like
cool.
selling a bunch of trophies, so I wanted one, so I got it.
That's awesome. What kind of dance do you do?
Like I do competitive, and I also do like regular recital dances.
Uh-huh. That would be kind of a cool thing to write about. You could like kind of maybe write something about how you dance or what it feels like when you dance. That would I'm gonna give you, you don't have to like do this like it's schoolwork, but if you want to learn how to become a better writer, the best way to do it is just to write. So maybe take like after, you know, sometime like maybe before you go to bed or when you wake up or something, just like take 5 minutes and try to write, describe how it feels when you're dancing. I would be really curious to read that. That would be something really cool. I've never read anybody describe that, so that would be cool. And you can use like some of the things we talked about today. Do you hear all those crazy sirens? Can you hear them from where you are? Sorry. I'm by my window and they're pretty loud. Anyways, so if you were to like use some of those things we talked about today, like sight, smell, I don't know what you would be smelling when you danced, but maybe your feet get really sticky or something. But sight, smell, taste, what it feels like in your body when you're moving, like that would be a really cool piece of writing. Before we sign off, we have like a few minutes left. Maybe we can work on something together. So I'm gonna go back to the screen share. I lied.
The only thing that I win with dance is I forgot what it's called, but like it's where the judges like pick the most beautiful picture, and I won that like 3 times in a row.
Wow, that's so cool. Congratulations. What kind of picture was it? Tell me about it. What were you wearing or what was the background like?
I was wearing a genie costume, like because this was my first solo,
Uh-huh.
and I had Layla move, and then it was like a white background
Uh-huh.
with with a light on with a light like on me because he had one of my the photo person had this thing where it was gold, so
Uh-huh.
the light hit that and it hit me,
Wow.
and then that's kind of all.
Yeah, that sounds, I have a good idea of what that might look like. Thanks for
I have the
describing it.
picture right there.
Oh, you had your, oh, it's your dog. Hey, bud. That's so funny. I'm going to show you another picture before we go. And we're gonna try to, maybe your dog wants to be a writer too. Can you see what, like, it's kind of like a yellow and blue picture? Okay, so you can either write them down or you can like tell it to me, but if you were describing this to a person, kind of like you just did with your dance picture, if you were describing this picture to somebody who couldn't see it, what would you tell them?
It's blue and it looks like it's blue, gold, and like different shades of yellow
Uh-huh.
with people playing jazz music stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
How'd you know it was jazz?
because I have a trumpet and that's a jazz thing, and then I know the two sing, the two like at the bottom sings,
Uh-huh.
play like jazzy music,
Yeah, amazing.
and then the drums
Uh-huh.
and the two guitars.
I love how you described all those musical instruments. If you were giving like, so you did perfectly describing the color and kind of even what it might sound like if this picture were happening in real life. What do you think, like, so we're gonna try to use some adjectives now. If you were telling me like what the mood of this picture was, how it feels to you, what would be some words you would use? Like I might choose like dynamic or active because it feels like there's a lot happening in it. But what are some words that, like, do you feel like it's happy or sad or maybe somewhere in between or what?
I think it's it looks like it's jazz music.
Yeah.
I think it will be like happy.
Would it be something that you like would want to dance to?
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of has that feeling, doesn't it? Because of the way that the picture, it kind of looks like it's happening in a club or in some sort of nighttime space. And
Because there is a moon in the background of the piano.
yes, there is. I didn't even notice that. Great job, Ellie. That's awesome description. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. I'm going to let you go pretty soon, but I would love for you to try to write just like a few sentences of you could pick pretty much whatever you wanted. Maybe the dance thing. Maybe you could just write about describing your dog to someone. Just something small or big like that. And if you, I'll just say this because I'm going to share this on YouTube later, but if you ever want me to give you feedback on what you've written, you can email me at a special email. It's not my personal one, it's one for the center, and I'm just going to put it in the chat so that other people can see it too. And it's called lmccwriters@gmail.com. Okay? It was so nice to meet you, Ellie.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Good luck on your summer at home. I know it's not ideal, but I'm super proud of you for logging on and trying something new. I like your stuffy. That's really sweet. Okay. Bye, babe. Take care, okay? All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.